What's up, y'all, and welcome to my podcast, School District Leadership. My name is Adam Welcome, and I thank you for being here. First off, please consider subscribing to the podcast and share your favorite conversations with colleagues or anyone you think would enjoy. If you're looking for a book to read, I've written 4. Kids Deserve It, Run Like a Pirate, Empower Our Girls, and Teachers Deserve It. They are all available on Amazon, as you can imagine, or Barnes & Noble, or wherever books are sold. And if you are looking to listen to the words rather than read them, Kids Deserve It is also on audiobook if you wanted to check that out. Hey, before we get to my guests for today, real quick, I wanted to give a plug for the work that I have been doing full-time for the past 7 years. I work with schools, districts, counties, service units, conferences, leadership organizations, and I come in and I give keynotes. I work with teachers, paraprofessionals, transportation, administrators, and I talk all about kids, educators, innovation, creativity, relationships, communication, new collar jobs, culture, and guaranteed everyone is going to learn, laugh, grow. And I will just kind of really pour some fuel on the fire that you already have going. I've given over 400 keynotes all across North America in 46 states. I am still booking 2025 for the summer. I have booked out the summer every summer for the last 7 years. I still have some openings, so hit me up. Also, I'm booking 2026. Send me a message. Let's have a call, talk about your event so we can work together and create an amazing day of learning for your team. You can just email me, adamwelcome@gmail.com, or my website, mradamwelcome.com, for more information. I would love to work with you. Thanks for listening. I really hope you enjoy today's episode. Dr. Karalee Turner-Little, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Adam. I am excited, nervous, and all the things, but I think we're going to have fun.
Oh, we're going to have so much fun. The cool thing is, this is not a job interview. It's just two people having a conversation, which is fun. Karalee's first podcast. So people listening, we had a call before the podcast, which I never do with guests, but you were like, let's talk. And it was good just to kind of get to know each other. And we talked a little bit, which is fun. So Karalee, for the people out there that don't know who you are, introduce yourself. Just give everybody a little background on kind of who you are, what you've done, and then what you do.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, I'm currently the Deputy Superintendent of a school system in Maryland, about 58,000 students. And someone described it the other week as I'm the assistant principal for the school system. And I was like, that is perfect. That is exactly it. You know, you're supporting someone else doing their best work. You're adapting your leadership to what they need. I asked a group of assistant principals how many of them had been assistant principals to many different principals, or at least more than one. Lots of hands went up. And I said, how many of you just picked up your leadership and did rinse and repeat? And no hands went up. And that's the nuance of being an AP, right? You're meeting the needs of a school and students and your leader. So yeah, that's kind of what I do. I've done this work for 30, well, not done this work, this role since 2018. I've been in education for 33 years. Kind of the journey to get me to this place started in my own family. I don't know if I'm unique in this way, but my mom was my first grade teacher. And
Wow.
my dad was my high school chorus teacher. So my mom eventually was a principal, and both my brothers are educators and they married educators. So my poor husband, he's the only one in the family. Like family gatherings are like, stop talking about education.
Wow, that's good.
So yeah, was a seventh and eighth grade social studies teacher. I think middle school is our last best chance to reach our students. I have a very special place in my heart for middle school. I was a team leader, department chair, national board certified teacher. Went on to be a staff development specialist doing professional development for office and school leaders. Gosh, I just adored that job. I was assigned 35 schools and just worked side by side with principals and their leadership teams, working on school improvement or whatever they needed to do to get better. And then I took a step back from full-time work and stayed home and worked part-time when our children were little. Gosh, I learned a lot during those 10 years, and then jumped into the deep end as a district leader, supporting a deputy superintendent, and then eventually four superintendents. So I guess you would say I've been the AP for four superintendents in two school systems.
Oh my gosh, I love that analogy. I
Yeah.
want to start off with a really technical question first. What is your favorite walk-up song if you could choose a walk-up song?
Okay, well, I am a huge Washington Nationals fan. And so I would have to maybe say Baby Shark might be a walk-up song for me. Yes, I
My
will give a
gosh.
nod to Baby Shark. Yes.
And all the
But I
kindergartners and
also,
first graders would love that. They would go crazy, Karalee.
yeah, yeah. But I would encourage everybody to look up U3, Flip Fantasia, Cantaloupe. That's another great walk-up song. So if I'm like really needing to get motivated, to listen to that song, and it always just makes me happy.
Yeah, so it's April 15th, tax day actually today as we're recording.
Oh,
Oh my gosh.
right.
What are you thinking about as a deputy soup? You know, the school year is coming to an end. I'm sure knee deep in testing. You're already in the 25-26 school year. Just where's your head? What are you thinking about? Conversations, planning, board documents, all those things. Just kind of give us the high level.
Yeah, I mean it seems like budget never ends, but right now in the life of a school system, we're in budget season where we're in that really unique phase where the county executive has not put out his budget and the county council hasn't wrestled with that a bit. So, budget is on my mind and how we maximize our resources, how we, think differently about our work, whether that is who's doing what or the actual work that we're doing or not doing. So budget I think is on everybody's mind. And then, we're closing the loop on a year of our strategic plan for the district. And I think as we're really thinking about how we mobilize around, we're putting stakes in the ground and trying to figure out how to just take those deliberate, intentional actions every day. Um, I'm also a Washington Capitals fan, and we just saw Alex Ovechkin hit that 895. Gretzky's beat Wayne Gretzky's record for all-time goals. And I think sometimes school system work seems like trying to reach that 895. At one point, Alex Ovechkin had zero goals, and then 100, and then 500. And so just to watch him do something that people thought was impossible, I think is what we do in a school system. We do things that sometimes people think is impossible, trying to, address long-standing disparities in achievement, trying to really fully meet the needs of all of our students, trying to make sure our staff feel respected and empowered and can be really working within their strengths. And so, I like thinking about James Clear's Atomic Habits, where
Mm.
you just, there's no magic formula, but there is a formula, those deliberate, intentional steps every single day to reach your goals. So that's what I'm thinking about right now.
Yeah, James Clear is he's one of my favorites too, his books and his podcast. So just to kind of go off that question, you've been in the same position for 7 years. I read recently that the average lifespan of an administrator at the site or at district office in a position is 2.3 years. What's been your, not secret, but what have you kind of done to have that longevity in the position?
Well, I will tell you that I think one of my biggest leadership hacks is humor. We do this really hard work. It's exhausting, it's important, but if you can't laugh at yourself, if you can't find humor, we spend so many hours in the office, at our work, in schools. Some of those hours have to be pleasant, and so I think humor is really, really important, and finding that joy and cultivating that joy. So I think that has been a big part of it. I never want humor to be misconstrued as making light of the work that we do or not thinking it's important. But I do have to laugh every day, and I have to try to make colleagues laugh every day. And, I think that's one of the things I admire about you is, just your energy, enthusiasm, and helping people to remember, why they got into this work and, just finding the joy in that. Kids are fun and amazing and staff are fun and amazing. So I think that's been the biggest piece for me.
Yeah, 100%. If you don't like kids, just find something else to do
Hang on
because
just one. I just somehow lost your I
can you
just
hear me now?
muted somehow. Okay,
Got
gotcha.
it. There we
Yep.
go. I was saying, if you don't like kids, just find something else to do because
Yeah.
kids are awesome in so many ways. How do you prioritize, Karalee? What's important? What's urgent? Do now, plan later. So many things coming at you, not just in your job, but like an administrator in general. How do you kind of process and go through that? Do you have any ideas or strategies or things that you've seen that just really help you kind of process all the things coming at you on a daily basis?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, some of the things are set for us. Like we have board meetings that we have to prepare documents for, or we'll find out that the police will be sending out a press release. And so then that will dictate some other communication that we have to do. So some of the time sensitive things, I mean, they are coming at you and that's the next thing that you have to do. But one of the things that my team has really helped me with is me getting clarity and communicating to my team when something is a priority for me, when something is urgent, when something can wait. Because when I'm not clear, they're spinning and it's something that I just didn't say, oh, yeah, this can wait till Monday, but then they're spinning because I haven't been clear about it. So I think one of my strategies is just me really being clear about what timelines are and timeframes are for me. And then one of the things I'm curious about lately is how we use email to distract ourselves from the important work, right? So if you see your email numbers go down from 50 to 30, you feel very accomplished, right? You look and you go, I just did some great work. But if we don't kind of change our relationship to email, and that's something my team and I are talking about now, you can sit there on email and know you've got something important to do. Know that you've got to really, you should be in quiet mode or deep thinking mode or strategic thinking mode, and you are just flipping through those emails. So I think I want to get some agreements with our team about some interval checking. I used AI the other day to generate some ideas of a daily work schedule that would help me prioritize strategy meetings, quiet work, and periodic email checks, but not email checks all day long
Yeah.
where I can't really focus and concentrate. So those would be some ways that I'm trying to prioritize what's important.
Yeah, email is great until it's not, and it's all how we use it into our lives. And I love what you said about being clear, and I'm sure you're a fan of Brene Brown. And I love what Brene Brown
Yes.
says: "Clear is kind." And when you're just clear with the people around you, you can move forward in such a better way. You mentioned AI. How are you using AI? How have you seen people in your system on your team using AI? What do you think we should be doing with AI in classrooms? I see a lot of schools, districts like blocking AI, but then I see AI everywhere in the world. And that doesn't make sense to me because we're getting kids ready for a world that they're going to live in, but then we're not doing the things that they're going to be doing in the world. So that's like seven questions in one, Karalee.
Yeah.
Take a stab at it.
Sure. Well, I mean, to be fair, most of us as educators, like AI came to us first as how students were going to cheat. So I think when we're introduced to a concept in that way, you are gonna find some resistance. You are gonna have some hesitancy around that. I absolutely agree with you. We cannot graduate students prepared to work at Blockbuster. We've got to graduate students prepared to work at jobs that don't exist right now. And so, the way my team is using AI is really to save time and get ideas. We want to be able to code data into themes and be able to act on that quickly. And while we're not sitting there hand coding, we can be doing something else. Again, generating ideas for our strategic plan. I just mentioned one about, how to strategically do a schedule. I'm working with my admin now about how to use AI to plan our school visits more strategically, where you're planning school visits based on where they are in proximity, not going to the east, going to the west, going back to the east, and you've wasted a lot of time. I think for classrooms, as a former social studies teacher, I would have loved to have had AI to be able to take a passage and convert it into different reading levels at a snap, so that kids could access the content just right away and not feel like, they were seeing a little baby book or, some college text. So definitely accessing reading levels, and I think, answer a question, put the prompt through AI, and then talk about the differences. HR now reports up to me, and I think there's a lot of cool things around practicing interviews and getting feedback on your interview answers and skills. And so I just think there's so much possibility, but I understand the resistance early on. And now it's time to, definitely I want to get better at figuring out ways to help us work smarter and to use our time more strategically. And I'm excited, I love that you're asking this question, because I'm sure you're codifying all these different
Mhm.
ideas about how people are using it. And I think that's exciting. We've got to learn from each other in that way.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I'm to the point now where I'm like, okay, people, get over it. Yes, kids can cheat. Kids have been cheating forever, but let's find ways to use it. And if it's out there, we have to be using it in order to find more ways for kids to use it so it can help them and it can increase access
Mhm.
and so many other things. Do you have a favorite interview question, Karalee, that you always like to ask applicants, just in general when you're hiring for a position?
I like to think I ask great interview questions all the over. So this is like, oh, what's my favorite? What's my favorite? I will say that I really like leaders who can reflect on something that did not go well, did not go as they planned, and how they actually made some leadership mistakes. Now looking back, they've reflected on it and they've changed their practice. I don't care for the answer. I don't care for the questions of like, what's your greatest weakness? And someone says, I just care too much. Not that kind of response, but really saying, I messed up here. And this is what I learned from it. And this is why I'm a better leader because of it. Because I think that really helps me to understand their vulnerability and also their ability to reflect and know that, look, we all mess up. We all mess up as leaders. Things don't go as we plan. We sometimes don't bring our best selves to a situation, but it's really how you learn from that and grow from that that matters. And I think make you an exceptional leader moving forward.
Yeah, 100%. I wouldn't be where I am without the mentors that I've had in my life, personal and professional. And I feel like early in people's careers, they get mentors. Like, you're a brand new assistant principal, you get a mentor. You just got your first school as a principal, you're a mentor. You become a director of CNI, you get a mentor. And then I feel like the older we get and the longer we're in jobs, they kind of fade, and there's still some there. And I feel like mentors are just so important no matter where you are in your career.
Hmm.
Maybe just talk about mentors in your life and what you've gotten from them, and just a reminder to everybody out there, like, go find a mentor. And also too, like, to the fact, if you're looking for a mentor, how can you find one? Maybe you're in a very, very
Hmm.
rural school district, and maybe you're struggling with the people that you work with and you have a different mindset. And just any advice for people out there to get hooked up, and why they are important.
Yeah. So, Adam, I have to give you props for these 15-part questions. I love it. I love what's happening here.
Good thing this is not an
Overachiever.
interview. This is just a conversation because you can answer all of
That's
it or
right.
part of it or whatever.
That's right. No, if I could choose one leadership strategy, it would definitely be get a mentor. Like it's if I had to just, narrow it down to one. And I've been very fortunate. I really appreciate what you said about this is not about your first year. This is about every year. You should have a mentor. I have had many. And here's the criteria. You need a mentor. You need one mentor who is going to be that soft place to land when you just need a listening ear and someone who's just going to be really kind and gentle with you for those kind, tender moments that you need. And you also need a mentor, and it's likely not the same person, but sometimes it could be, who is going to tell you, love you enough to tell you what you don't want to hear. And in a very, clear as kind, I love you enough to tell you this. This is a blind spot for you. You're not approaching this in a way that's going to serve you well. You're not being strategic here. And again, if you can find it in the same person, go for it. But I like some mentors who are within my organization. I like some mentors who are outside of my organization, sometimes outside of your industry, who can just help you look at things from a different lens. My children have been mentors for me in some ways, certainly my husband. But I think all along the way, if you don't have a mentor, your only excuse is that you are mentoring so much that has fallen by the wayside. But I just think it's critical for every leader to have a mentor and seek it out. Every group that I ever talk to, I always say, if there's anything that I ever can do for your leadership and your leadership journey, reach out. I've had people job shadow me for a few hours or a day. I've had people reach out virtually or in person and just ask me, sort of like episodic mentorship. And I have had people throughout the years that I have, mentored along their journey, but it's so important. It's kind of like the first time I talked to a therapist and they said they had a therapist. And I went, "Oh, you've got a therapist?" And they're like, "Of course. Every healthy person has a therapist." Well, it's like every healthy leader has a mentor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. People out there, get a mentor. 100%. We love talking about books on the podcast, Karalee. I saw you just posted
Hmm.
about James by Percival Everett. And I told you
Oh,
before I started it and I couldn't get into it, but I'm keeping it. I'm not giving up. I'm just putting it away.
yes.
Do you have a favorite leadership book that maybe you recommend to all brand new APs, principals, that you're like, you got to read this book? It's going to help your leadership. Is there one that you'd like to recommend?
So I'm going to ask the question I wish you had asked. So since this is not an interview, so I wouldn't say that, there's a leadership book that I always recommend because I do think different people it's customized for what they need and sort of where they are. And I don't know that I have one that's sort of a one size fits all. Although, we mentioned Atomic Habits earlier, and I do think there are books that have certain concepts that I continue to go back to, right? But I think not a leadership book, not a book that you would go, that's what you're proffering up. But a book that I discovered this year was called Tea and Cake with Demons, and it's by Adriana Limbaugh. Limbaugh, maybe Adriana Limbaugh. And I really love so many of the concepts in it. It's inviting us to invite our strong emotions in for tea and cake. It's a Buddhist concept where we're not running from our emotions, we're not running from our demons. We're inviting them in. Put the kettle on. Let's have some snacks and let's try to understand what this strong emotion or what this demon is trying to teach us, because we don't have to run from that. We don't have to be scared of that. It's embracing that. But she has so many just really good concepts that I've been able to apply to my leadership. So for example, she mentions in the book that for all you overthinkers out there, that sometimes when we're thinking through something, and we're just mulling it over in our head over and over. That mimics sometimes the feeling that we're doing something about it, and we're not. We're just continuing to think through it and mull it over. And she said, sometimes you got to get out of the deliberation room and just act. Like, what is the next best step that I need to take on this? Well, that's a concept from this Tea and Cake with Demons, Buddhism philosophy book that I've been really trying to understand people that I work with, understand colleagues, that sometimes when someone continues to think something over, they might be thinking they are acting. They might, because it's mimicking that feeling in their body, and just helping each other go, all right, let's pause. I think we've done enough deliberation now. What action can we take? What's the next best step that we can take?
Well, I'm adding Tea and Cake with Demons to my list, but I also love do y'all just realize what Karalee did? She just turned it on the podcast host, and that is a sign of such a strong and strategic leader, because if you weren't really paying attention, she's like, I don't like that question. You asked too many questions before. I'm going to go a little bit different. But you know what? That's the beauty of this, is like, it is what we make of it. Karalee, we love doing shout outs on a podcast. It's a really unfair question, because I'm sure there's hundreds of people that you want to shout out, but give it a shot. Who would you like to give a shout out to on the podcast?
Okay. All right. And you are right. It's really hard to ask a Gemini to focus on one thing, right? But I'm a North Carolina Tar Heel fan, much to my Wake Forest Demon Deacon husband's chagrin. But Dean Smith, renowned coach of the Tar Heels, he taught his players to point to the player, that once you make a basket, you point to the player that made the assist, right? And I love this concept that we win and we score and we achieve, but somebody passed us the ball. Somebody made that happen. And so the shout out that I want to give today is actually to the person who assists me every single day in my work, my administrative assistant, Catalina Ruiz Rojas, who I could not do my best work without her leadership, without her strategic mind, without her thinking ahead of me and anticipating what I need. And she's amazing. And I just want to thank her for helping me be the leader, just helping me to come to work every day and be my best.
Yeah, everybody out there, make sure you're giving shout outs in whatever form they are, because it just feels good to say other people's names, and they like hearing their names in a way. It's important. Karalee, a huge part of this podcast is just amplifying the voices of my guests. So I'm just going to pass the microphone over to you to close us out. What do you want to say to everybody out there that listens to this podcast?
Okay. Well, there might be some people who are listening who have found their purpose in life and they're living it. And I just want to say yay on you, and keep doing it. That is not me. And so there may be some other people out there that are going, why does everybody out there seem to have found their purpose and I haven't? And I used to struggle with this because I thought I just couldn't name it. I couldn't articulate it. And Adam, it was because I was thinking of it as an it. I was thinking of it as a thing, as a destination. And I just want to say that for me, not that this is true for everybody, because I do look at some people and go, you have found that thing and you're living it out. But for me, it's not a thing. It's I live my life with purpose. I bring purpose to everything that I do every day. And that is a thing. It doesn't have to be, I have found this magical purpose at the end of the rainbow. So, I just want to say bring purpose to your everyday. Be purposeful about your conversations, and don't waste any opportunity. A conversation in passing on the way to the bathroom, because let's all stay well hydrated. Those hallway conversations, those parking lot conversations, those in between meetings, going to grab a snack, a coffee, those are really important, and we shouldn't squander any opportunity to encourage one another, thank one another, and just bring purpose to what we do every day.
Dr. Karalee Turner-Little. You absolutely crushed your first
Uh,
podcast. Oh my gosh, I am ready for the floodgates to open on your own podcast someday. That's another conversation after the show. So fun, so
Well, I
fun.
definitely we definitely have to talk next time about your marathon running because I do set birthday goals, and one of my birthday goals was when I turned 50 many years ago. I ran 55 Ks.
Yeah.
So not 12 marathons.
Wow.
I have run a marathon, but not 12 marathons in a year. But we definitely will have to talk about some birthday goals next time.
Yeah, let's do it. Big, I think that's a great reminder. Set goals, everybody, because goals help you get to somewhere. And if you're just kind of meandering and going, that can be okay. But having that goal, putting something on the calendar, thinking big, making it public, telling people, there's that social accountability and also your own personal accountability. And you get up and you read
Yes.
more books and you move your body more and you just try new things. And it's important. So fun having you on today, Karalee. Thanks for.
So fun. Adam, thank you for what you're
Oh,
doing, seriously, for girls and teachers and leaders. And really, I am inspired by you. So thank you so much.
well, it's mutual. Thanks for coming on. Everybody out there listening, thank you for all that you do. And I hope that you have an absolutely amazing day.